Early in December 2016, hours before dawn, a borrowed car sat alone on a bridge along the Jersey shore, angled slightly away from traffic. A passing Uber driver slowed down and stared, because this was not a place where people simply left their cars and walked away without a reason. The bridge connected Belmar and Neptune City in New Jersey. As the driver passed, he noticed the car sitting there, without hazard lights, without anyone visible inside. And something about it felt wrong enough that he called 911. When police arrived, they found exactly what the caller had described. An Oldsmobile 88 pulled over on the bridge, keys still in the ignition, no sign of a driver, and nothing obvious to explain why the car had been left there in the middle of the night. When they ran the license plate, the situation became more concerning because the car belonged to a 96-year-old woman named Lillian Stern, the matriarch of a large family with children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren spread across the area. And one of those grandchildren was a 19-year-old young woman named Sarah Stern, who regularly borrowed her grandmother's car. Almost immediately, the pieces began to fall into place in a way that felt heavy, because Sarah's father, Michael Stern, had been trying to reach her all night from Florida, where he was on vacation, growing more worried with every unanswered message. The last time Michael had heard from his daughter was the night of December 1st, when he sent her a photo of Cinderella's castle lit up at Disney World, and she replied with a simple message, telling him how pretty the lights looked. The next evening, just after 10:30 p.m., he texted her again, asking if she was awake, and when there was no response, he sent another message, and then another, asking what was going on, asking why her phone was off, asking her to call him as soon as she saw the messages, but Sarah never replied. Now her car was sitting empty on a bridge over dark water. It looked like she might have driven there herself and jumped. Sarah had not had an easy life in the years leading up to her disappearance, and those who knew her understood why the idea of suicide surfaced so quickly. In 2013, when Sarah was just 16 years old, her mother had died after a long battle with cancer, and as an only child, that loss cut deeply into every part of her life. But despite the pain, people close to Sarah believed things had recently begun to look better. She had talked excitedly about moving to Canada, starting fresh somewhere new, and she believed she finally had the means to do it, because she had come into money that she saw as her escape. Now she was missing, and the answer to what happened to her did not lie in the river below the bridge, but with 3 people she had trusted since childhood, friends she had known since she was 6 years old. As police began to piece together Sarah's final days, they spoke with family, neighbors, and friends, trying to understand whether she had shown signs of planning to disappear. They learned that earlier on the day she went missing, Sarah had dropped off personal belongings at a neighbor's house, including items that once belonged to her mother, and that detail stood out immediately, because these were not things someone casually gave away. One of the first people police spoke to was Liam McAtasney, one of Sarah's oldest friends, someone she had known since first grade, someone who had been part of her life through childhood, adolescence, and the darkest period following her mother's death. Police arrived at Liam's home around 4 a.m., just hours after Sarah's car had been found, and they asked him the questions, wanting to know what her mindset had been the last time he spoke to her, and whether she had mentioned any plans. Liam told them Sarah had been trying to get away, that she had talked constantly about going to Canada, that she had been depressed, and that her relationship with her father was strained. He painted a picture of a young woman desperate to escape a controlling home, someone who believed leaving the country was the only way to survive emotionally, and he suggested that suicide was not out of the question. In later conversations, Liam went further, describing Sarah as unstable and troubled, talking about past incidents where she had threatened to harm herself, and moments when she had accused her father of hurting her or driving her towards self-destruction. He spoke about her mother's illness and death, saying that after the cancer diagnosis, Sarah struggled to hold down jobs or commit to school. According to Liam, Sarah had become fixated on the idea of leaving everything behind, and Canada had become her symbol of freedom. Liam's account fit the narrative they were already forming: a troubled young woman, grieving and possibly suicidal, whose car had been found abandoned on a bridge. When investigators checked nearby surveillance footage, they found a camera across the street from Sarah's house that captured her reversing out of her driveway at 11:45 p.m. on December 2nd, the last confirmed sighting of her alive. The footage also showed Liam leaving earlier that afternoon, matching his claim that he had gone to work and had not seen her again that night. There was no footage from the bridge itself because the camera beneath it had not worked for years. Police also entered Sarah's home and found her dog, Buddy, locked in his cage, alone in the house with the front door unlocked. Sarah was known to be devoted to her dog, and leaving him caged without food or care made little sense if she had planned to start a new life somewhere else. The investigation stalled. Liam's parents hired him a lawyer, cutting off further questioning, and with no body and no physical evidence linking anyone to a crime, the search for Sarah Stern stopped entirely. But in January 2017, the case took a sudden turn, thanks to another childhood friend named Anthony Curry. Anthony had grown up in the same area, gone to school with Sarah, Liam, and another friend named Preston Taylor, and like Liam, he had a deep interest in filmmaking and storytelling. Just 1 week before Sarah vanished, Anthony had spent Thanksgiving with Liam, and during a conversation about movies, Liam casually shared an idea for a film he wanted to make. He described a story about a girl who was robbed, strangled, and thrown off a bridge, her body disappearing into the water below, and at the time, Anthony dismissed it as dark imagination. Weeks later, when news spread about Sarah's disappearance and the abandoned car on the bridge over Shark River, that conversation came back with clarity. Anthony realized that what he had brushed off as fiction might have been something far more sinister. He contacted police, and while they had no physical evidence to act on immediately, they understood the significance of what Anthony was saying, and they knew that if Liam was truly responsible, the only way to prove it would be to get him to talk. At the end of January, investigators set up a sting operation, asking Anthony to meet with Liam while secretly recording their conversation. Liam insisted they could not speak over the phone and arranged to meet in person, checking carefully to make sure Anthony was not wired. But despite his caution, he let his guard down. Liam began describing how he had planned Sarah's disappearance, explaining that being questioned by police had been part of the plan, a way to make himself look innocent. He admitted they had thrown her off the bridge and that her body never showed up. He described in detail how he had gone to the bank with Sarah earlier that day, how she had withdrawn money, and how he attacked her as she tried to leave her house. He spoke about strangling her, about timing how long it took her to die, about her dog watching from his cage, and about going to work afterward, as if nothing had happened. Anthony listened as Liam described, calling his roommate, Preston Taylor, who came over to help move the body and hide it until they could finish what they started. Liam explained how they returned later that night, placed Sarah's body in her own car, and drove to the bridge, communicating by walkie-talkie, carefully avoiding cameras, trying to make it look like Sarah herself had driven there. He talked about struggling to lift her body over the railing, about panic, and about finally pushing her into the dark water below. And then he explained why he did it. He believed Sarah had tens of thousands of dollars, maybe more, and he wanted it. The next day, police arrested Liam McAtasney and Preston Taylor, and as investigators sat Preston down for questioning, he did not deny what had happened. He confirmed everything, admitting that Liam had planned the murder for months and that the motive was money. He described helping move Sarah's body, helping throw her over the bridge and helping hide the stolen cash afterward. And yet, even with confessions, one question still lingered heavily in the air, because Sarah Stern's body had never been found. Investigators began by focusing on Friday, December 2nd, 2016, the last day Sarah Stern was alive. That morning, Sarah had gone about her day. She ran errands, spoke with friends, and most importantly, went to the bank. Bank records confirmed that Sarah had withdrawn a significant amount of cash that day, money she believed would fund her move to Canada and give her a fresh start. She did not withdraw all of it, only a portion. After the bank, Sarah returned home. Her father was still in Florida, and she was alone with her dog, Buddy. At some point that afternoon, Liam came to the house. According to Preston's later statement, it was the moment Liam had been preparing for over months of plans centered around Sarah's money. Preston told police that Liam had talked about robbing Sarah long before the day of the murder. Inside the house, investigators believe Liam waited for the right moment. When Sarah moved toward the front door, he attacked her. In his recorded confession, Liam described strangling Sarah and realizing that she did not lose consciousness the way he expected. He used fabric to block her airway and held her there while she slowly died. He described setting a timer on his phone, watching the seconds pass, and measuring how long it took for her life to end. After Sarah was dead, Liam dragged her body into a back bathroom, hiding her from view. Then he left. He went to work. At some point during work, Liam realized he had lost his phone. He returned to the house multiple times during his shift to look for it. That evening, after Liam finished work, he contacted Preston Taylor, his roommate and co-conspirator. Preston arrived at Sarah's house and found her body in the back bathroom, exactly where Liam had left it. Preston would later tell police that the sight shocked him, but not enough to make him walk away. Instead, he helped Liam move Sarah's body outside, placing her in the bushes near the back fence, where they believed she would not be seen. Later that night, the two men returned to move Sarah one final time. They placed her body into her own car, buckling her into the passenger seat to make it appear as though she were simply asleep. Liam then got into the driver's seat and carefully backed the car out of the driveway. This moment was captured by a neighbor's security camera. Liam had practiced this. He had watched how Sarah reversed out of her driveway, how she positioned the car, how she turned the wheel, and he mimicked her movements exactly, believing that if anyone reviewed the footage, it would look natural. Preston followed behind in his own car, and the two communicated using walkie-talkies as they drove toward the bridge over Shark River. When they arrived, Liam stopped Sarah's car on the bridge, positioning it just far enough off the road to attract attention. He then got out and attempted to lift Sarah's body over the railing. He had underestimated how heavy a human body would be, and as cars approached, he panicked. Preston got out to help, grabbing Sarah's legs while Liam lifted her upper body. Together, they hoisted her over the railing and pushed her into the water below. They left Sarah's car behind and drove away together. In the days and weeks that followed, Liam and Preston worked hard to appear concerned and helpful. They joined search parties, attended vigils, and spoke sympathetically with friends and family. They hid the stolen money first in their attic, then buried it in a park. Some of it they spent. When police questioned Preston after the arrest, faced with the evidence and the reality of what they had done, he chose to cooperate. He led investigators to the places where they had buried the money and personal items, including Sarah's safe and her clothing. He walked them through the house, showing them exactly where Sarah had been attacked and where her body had been hidden. He took them to the bridge and demonstrated how they had lifted her body and pushed her into the water. Every detail matched Liam's recorded confession. One of the most critical pieces of evidence came from the phone Liam had lost at Sarah's house, the phone her family found on the lawn the day after she was reported missing. Forensic analysis revealed that the stopwatch function had been activated at 4:15 p.m. on December 2nd, and it had run for approximately 30 minutes, aligning perfectly with Liam's own description of timing Sarah's death. Investigators also recovered the walkie-talkies used during the drive to the bridge and confirmed that the cash found buried matched the deteriorated bills still held in Sarah's bank deposit box. By the time the case went to court, prosecutors were prepared to do something rare and difficult: pursue a murder conviction without a body. Preston Taylor pleaded guilty to robbery, conspiracy, desecration of human remains, and hindering apprehension, agreeing to testify against Liam in exchange for a reduced sentence. He was sentenced to 18 years in prison, with the possibility of parole after serving most of that time. At his sentencing, Preston apologized. Liam McAtasney showed no such remorse. He suggested Sarah might still be alive, that she could have run away or taken her own life. But the jury did not believe him. In February 2019, Liam was found guilty on all counts, including first-degree murder, felony murder, robbery, conspiracy, and desecration of human remains. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Sarah Stern's body has never been recovered. In the end, the most haunting part of this story is the betrayal at its core. Sarah was killed by the people she trusted most for money she had not even fully claimed yet. Sarah was 22 years old, and she deserved a future.